Hello everybody, I hope you're well and welcome back to Voicenotes with Jordan Theresa. How is everybody doing today? I'm hungover. I am like plot twist hungover? No. Oh my God. My brain is rotted. I'm unexpectedly hungover. So I've said this before, but I usually record these episodes on a Thursday. But I'm actually recording on a Saturday. I've had a really crazy busy few weeks with work. I've been finishing up on a main channel video. Obviously I'm doing Substack now for the podcast. I'm also doing the podcast. There's a lot going on. But it's good. It's good. I'm really glad that I'm busy because I had a very stressful sort of dry spell with work a few months ago. More at the beginning of the year. So I will always be happy to be busy, obviously. And I think what I also really like about, now that I've got the main channel, the podcast and the Substack is I feel like I've chosen my three work things that I'm locking in on, my three platforms. By the way, please let me know if this is boring. Please let me know if I'm boring you because I understand, I don't know, I think me talking about work sometimes can feel a bit tacky, I don't know, but this is just what's going on in my life. I've chosen my three platforms to lock in with, and I'm really happy about it. You guys know how much I love doing the podcast. I've been loving being on Substack. It's all very fun. And honestly, life feels so much lighter. The grass smells so much sweeter. The trees are so much greener now that I don't post Instagram reels anymore. So there's the vulnerability of somebody following you on Instagram, like a friend or a friend of a friend, and then them seeing you Instagram reels. Oh my God, horrendous. Yeah, all I've been doing is doing work and making content. And I finished up my main channel video, which is coming soon. I'm making 2 main channel videos for September. Got a bonus podcast episode that I'm working on today. But yeah, no, this has been a slight last minute moment. So yesterday I went out, so my friends Adam and Trish had a housewarming, so me and Scarlett and grabbed some drinks beforehand because she was coming straight from work. Faye, whose birthday weekend it is, also joined us, and so did Becca, and I can't lie, I got really drunk. I got really, really drunk, unexpectedly drunk. And I think it was because I'd taken my ADHD medication, plus I was drinking on empty stomach. So overall, not a great idea. I feel really hungover today. I had to take a paracetamol and order a Wenzel's. Guys, it was hard. It was tragic. It was tough times. We've got a hungover drink of choice. We've got Tango. Okay. Usually my hungover drink of choice is an orange juice or some sort of fizzy drink and ice cold water. I do the medley of drinks, and I don't drink coffee, so I feel the iced water is that was my version of an iced coffee. So I'm gonna go for a Tango, a little taste test. Good, delicious. But yes, life has been busy, work has been busy, but it's really good. I'm really happy. The weather's been beautiful in the UK. Jack's going to be back soon. He's been away. I try not to publicize too much on this podcast because by the time I upload this episode, Jack will be back. I try not to publicize on this podcast too much when Jack is away and Jack isn't, for safety reasons. But he's coming back, which means I need to get the house in order. The house has been in order. The only thing that's in disorder is my bedroom. As I said last week, the amount of tidying it takes to not live in squalor is absolutely nuts. But usually the rest of the house stays pretty clean. But guys, I've been dealing with a fruit fly problem. No! Guys, and I would like to say, there's nowhere that the fruit flies could be attracted to. I'm emptying the bins regularly. I'm wiping down the sink. I'm putting bleach down the drains. I am making sure everything in this house is fruit fly, would not attract any fruit flies. There's not loads of them, but there is an amount to notice. So this morning I have spent the morning setting up fruit fly traps because I don't want there to be fruit flies when Jack comes back. He's going to come back and he's going to be what the fuck happened when I was gone at our house? It's full of fruit flies. No, it's fine. It's fine. I'm being dramatic. But yes, this weekend, so I was supposed to be at a festival with my parents today, but I've had to sack that off. But it's Faye's birthday weekend this weekend. So yesterday we did some pre-birthday drinks. Today are the birthday drinks. And then on Sunday we're going for a roast. Oh, I can't wait. Anyone that can't hack a roast in the sun, get a grip. Get a grip. I haven't had a roast in ages, and I booked a roast in for next weekend as well. So this is the thing. I've like had to cancel my festival today. I had to cancel my festival last weekend as well. But it's okay because, guys, next weekend it's the big one. I'm doing All Points East. I'm seeing DJ Heartstring. I'm going to Rally. Like, I've got 2 festivals next weekend. It's all like, do you know what I mean? Like, it's all building up to something. It's a girl who knows everything is going to be okay. Because of my like pretty full on past couple of weeks with work, do I have any thoughts? No thoughts, head empty, other than Wenzel's make a crap baguette. That's my thought of the week. I ordered a Wenzel's baguette for like sort of breakfast today because I was like, I can't get a Greg's. I knew that I was lying in bed, I was hungover, and I knew that if I had a carb heavy meal like a Greg's, that would take me out for the rest of the day. I'd feel like shit. I was like, I need to have something that has a vegetable in it. I couldn't order a salad that early in the morning, annoyingly, but the only thing I could find was like a Wenzel's, which, to be fair, the only vegetable in my baguette was lettuce. So like, it probably wasn't that different from getting a Greg's, but God, what a crap baguette. Like, I'm so sorry, Wenzel's. The meat to bread ratio was insulting. Excessive amounts of mayo. Not happy. I'm not happy. Sorry. I feel like this is a really bad episode. Shall we do an OOTD real quick? So, OOTD, we have got this lovely vintage top. This is like my summery top. I absolutely love it. It's vintage. I got it from, I believe, because I got it from Vintage Pop-Up. I believe this was from Daughter of a Hoarder. I absolutely love it. It's originally United Colors of Benetton. I feel like I'm always saying that wrong. That's why I try to mutter Benetton, because I'm like, I'm not saying that right. Anyways, and then I'm just wearing cargos. These are just ones from Peachy Den. And guys, look how cute my socks are. I matched them with my top. These are from YellowPaige. I just got a YellowPaige. Guys, I've been shopping. Guys, I've been shopping. First of all, sorry, before we get into the shopping part, I've been loving hot pink. I've been really, really loving hot pink. I got a nice hot pink top yesterday. I've been wearing my hot pink Adidas zip up a lot that I really like. I am absolutely loving hot pink. But guys, I have done some shopping. I think I might have to do a haul on TikTok. As I know the seasons aren't changing, but the season change is inbound. It's upcoming. So I've ordered some like really nice bits. So like what did I get? So I've ordered a couple of tops. And then the big bits is I ordered a really beautiful pair of trousers from this brand called Cat. They are these black trousers. They've got spirals on the side. My friend Susie posted them on her Instagram. And one thing about me, I'd probably say about 60% of the things in my wardrobe are influenced by Susie. They are Susie influenced purchases. And she was wearing them. They looked amazing on her. So I ordered them, and I've ordered them in a size large so I can get them tailored so they can fit me perfectly. I will say, this was really expensive because the trousers are expensive. I've just been charged duties that I need to pay, and I need to pay to get them tailored. So I will say this is like a treat, and this is my go-to. This will be like my winter pair of trousers, because my usual winter pair of trousers, which is my black pinstripe ones, are too small for me. So I was like, you know what? I wear black trousers all the time. I'm going to invest, and then I'm going to get them tailored and all of this. So I ordered that. And then I ordered a bag from a brand called This Uniform. It's this purple sling bag. I saw it on Pinterest like 2 years ago, and I had never been able to get my hands on it. It's always sold out. I'm pretty sure they had not dropped it in like well over a year. And then I saw on their Instagram that they were doing another drop, and they were like, this is probably gonna be the last time we do it. So I was like, so I had the alarms on. The alarms were on, girls, and I got the bag, and it's this really big sling bag, and it's perfect for it's perfect for work, perfect to put my laptop in. One thing about me, all my friends say, I always love bringing a ludicrously capacious bag out and about because I can put my jacket in it. It's perfect. But yeah, no, so it's going to be perfect for work, perfect for, I don't know, I'm thinking what else, I don't know, sleepovers? Oh my God, sorry. The divorced parents experience. My parents were never married, but the separated parents experience of having to pack up your bags, carry half your life to your dad's house every other weekend. brutal. Absolutely brutal. I remember the size of the bag that I had to take to my dad's when I saw him every other weekend. But anyways, sorry, let's actually get into today's episode because I'm tired and I feel like I'm being a bit nonsensical. So, in today's episode of Voice Notes with Jordan Theresa, I want to talk all about dating and TikTok. Oh, my two favorite things. I love talking about dating. You guys know how much I love talking about dating. I love talking about dating within sort of like the contemporary modern landscape, dating and dating culture, and how social media and the digital age has impacted dating. I find it all really interesting. I especially find like the gender dynamics of dating really, really interesting. It all itches and scratches my brain. I absolutely love it. I very rarely talk about my own dating life on the internet or like on my podcast. Last year I went through a breakup and I never divulged any of the hows and the whys because obviously there's more than one person's privacy to respect, but also I shared very openly about the fact that I was going through a breakup and my emotions within that and how I was dealing with things, how I was processing things. And to be fair, I mean, I feel like I handled it quite respectfully and I like don't have any regrets with that because it was so like healthy for me to be able to process my breakup in that way. Also, I know that it helped a lot of other people as well. And it helped me too, like being able to read comments of people being like, I'm going through a breakup as well, like blah, blah, blah. You know, breakups are like such a universally binding experience because everyone has gone through a shit breakup. But what I will say is my mindset towards dating has really shifted since I stopped consuming TikTok dating content. The TikTok dating landscape is a very broad and vast one. My poison of choice was dating vlogs. And this thing, I know that I've been critical of dating vlogs in the past. I know, and I still am. But we're going to circle back to this point. I know that I'm a hypocrite. It was slightly an addiction, I would say. I'm using that term very lightly, by the way. The TikTok dating scene is very broad, it's very fast, but I do think that what I am discussing in this episode, which I do think this episode is probably going to be coming from a more personal perspective rather than sort of my episodes that are a little more like heavily researched. Like this is brewing from top of the dome. I did have a few sources though, which I'm obviously going to leave linked in the recommended reading. You know, what I am discussing, I do believe can be applied to most dating content that you find on TikTok. I will say I seem to be taking a particular focus on dating advice which is shared on TikTok, but obviously the dating content I used to consume was dating vlogs. So what inspired me to make this episode, you guys may ask? You guys may be begging what inspired me to make this episode? Well, I came across a video on TikTok and these videos always fascinate me more than people who are not necessarily, I guess people don't really use the word influencer anymore to describe TikTokers. They usually say like content creators. Cringe. Guys, do you want to know my truth as a YouTuber and a podcaster? I hate the term content creator. I don't know what it is. Like, I understand that it's more of like a catch-all umbrella, and I understand that influencer doesn't necessarily carry a stigma, but there is like a stereotype that's associated with influencers. So like, for example, I don't call myself an influencer because I don't really feel like one. I say, oh, I'm a YouTuber, or I say, oh, I'm a podcaster. But I never say that I'm an influencer. But like the word content creator is a fucking epidemic. Like, I absolutely hate it so much. I don't know why. I think it just makes me cringe because it's one of those where it's like, it's giving I'm not like the other influencers. So this video, I came across a TikTok of a girl who was just a like regular girl. She wasn't a TikToker. She wasn't a creator. And I always find videos like this way more interesting than people who, you know TikTok like the back of their hand. They know it back to front. They know what they're doing. They know the tricks. They upload every day. So I find that the most interesting TikToks are people who are posing questions who they aren't trying to get anything out of it. They genuinely just want their questions answered. So this was just a normal girl, not an influencer, asking the audience for dating advice. So Annoyingly, I cannot find this video for the life of me. I cannot find it. Like, I haven't even bothered to try because it is truly a needle in a haystack. I will never, ever be able to find this video. But from what I can remember from my memory, so I hope you guys trust me, is that the story goes that she met a guy on a dating app. They went for one day. It went well. And they are messaging, and he says he's going down to London and is going to be bad on his replies. But he, definitely wants to take her out when he's back. He is bad on his replies. He's only replying every 12 or 24 hours, but he does say in one of these replies that he still wants to go on a second date with her. And she asks, I guess we should say the audience, which sounds really weird when describing like TikTok users, but I guess they are the audience, aren't they? Let me ask the audience. She asks the audience what they think / what she should do. She feels like she's being sent sort of mixed signals a bit. She doesn't know whether him taking a really long time to reply is like a signal that he's like not really into her. She's asking for advice. So before we get into what I came across in the comments, the way that I read that, and I will say, I am biased because I am really bad at replying to messages, especially with dating. I'm really, really bad at replying to messages. Like, I will leave someone on delivered for 3 days, but I still like them and I still want to go on a date with them. I don't want to text. Well, you know what? We'll get onto that. We will get onto that. But so my sort of perspective on that was I was like, oh, well, he's been in London, he's busy, but he's still saying he wants to see you again, so he wants to see you again. The comments were an absolute state. And the ones which, particularly caught my attention ran along the lines of, if he leaves you undelivered for more than 12 hours, he is not interested. It's this very like black and white, very firm. If he leaves you on 12 or 24 hours, he just isn't. Leaves you delivered on for, over 12 hours. He is just not interested in you. And I actually kind of want to stay on this topic a little longer because I found it so interesting and honestly like slightly shocking, because I do think that there is I'm not going to sit here and be like, it just doesn't matter. You can't read how someone feels about you from the amount that they're messaging, etc., how long they're leaving between replies, etc. I don't again, guys, it's grey. It's a grey area. I am not a huge messenger during dating, but also I do know that, if you're messaging someone every day and they're replying every hour, and then all of a sudden they start leaving you undelivered for, like 6, 7, 8, 12, 24 hours without an explanation. That is, I do think that is a read into whether they're still interested in you or not. But it's this blanket advice of, oh, if he leaves you delivered for X amount of time, he is categorically not interested in you. It's cuckoo bananas, guys. This is absolutely nuts to me. So the range of dating content we see on TikTok is genuine questions and reaching out, asking for dating advice, dating vlogs, and TikTok dating coaches. That's the most like extreme version of TikTok dating content. They are self-proclaimed dating coaches or maybe even life coaches who make content solely giving dating advice, and this content is also monetized. I think something important to note is dating content is inundated with heterosexual women and is aimed at heterosexual women. I very rarely, if ever, see heterosexual men asking for or giving dating advice online. And if they are, I never see them asking, but if they are giving, it is usually within the vicinity of a woman, if that makes sense. So it's usually a video of someone saying, oh, I brought my boyfriend on booze. Stop. I've brought my boyfriend on camera and he's going to answer your dating dilemmas. So people are open to like this male perspective. I very rarely, if ever, see men giving dating advice of their own accord or giving dating advice to other men, unless it's sort of within that like Reddit looksmaxing, what is it called, manosphere, and we're not covering that today. We're talking about the girlies. To start diving into this phenomenon, we must begin at the why. Why are people asking for dating advice? Why are people able to grow such large followings from giving out dating advice? So I'm not going to stay on this topic for too long because I have covered this before. But I think that widespread, a lot of young people are experiencing a bit of dating app fatigue. The women that sorry, my cat just climbed into the drawers and I think she's going to fall asleep, which is great for us. You know, the problems which I think women are finding with dating apps is, you know, likely rooted in the disposability culture these apps produce and their addictive factors. I also think that dating apps, I think the process of going on a date with someone, you know, the messaging, the flirting over message, and then the moving it over to something else, and then booking it in, and then waiting until the date happens, and it's just a bit exhausting. Like even the swiping and the liking is exhausting. You know, I've spoken about the problems which I think dating apps have posed. I think there's a huge disposability culture that has been produced from dating apps. I think dating apps have facilitated sex addiction in a lot of young men. But I think that something that maybe this is a hot take, I'm not sure, but I don't think dating is any harder than it used to be. I will say, I think that Gen Z and maybe even millennials' relationships with labels have changed, where yes, less young people are in relationships, but also I think it's because young people of our generation take labels very seriously. We take things like cheating and affairs very seriously. So a lot of people, you know, back in the day would have a girlfriend and cheat on her all the time. Now those people, you know, in like the 2020s, they're just single and getting loads of girls on Hinge. Like, do you know what I mean? If we just think about Sex and the City, the entire premise of that show is 4 women's dating lives in New York. Like, dating has always been difficult. I just think the problems now have changed. I don't think there's more problems. I think the problems have evolved into sort of being very like digital era focused. But I think we're at a really interesting point in history and culture where through gaining financial independence from men, across the board, women are raising their standards for their future partners, whilst also outperforming and out-earning men in multiple respects. But the issue lies with the number of well-rounded women often outnumbers the number of well-rounded men. And these men, who are the quote-unquote well-rounded ones, yield a lot of control within the dating market. I read an article from Moya Lothian McLean. I can't remember who she wrote it for, but it was called like Fear and Loathing on Field, I think it was called. And it was basically about dating in London. Nobody plays at the Fringe. Dating in London. But, you know, she basically wrote this whole article about dating in London, and she spoke with both straight men and straight women. And all of the straight men say that the caliber of women is insane. That there's like such a high caliber of women. There's so many amazing, like beautiful, well-rounded women today. And I think that there isn't that much that I don't think women can say the same. So I think that there's, you know, the amount of well-rounded women outnumber the amount of well-rounded men. But also, you know, it's definitely worth posing and trying to answer the question of what does it mean to be a well-rounded person? Because on one hand, I think women raising their standards is obviously an objective good. It's a net positive. But sometimes I think this sort of language of, you know, knowing your worth and raising your standards, I think it can be co-opted for quite shallow endeavors. I mean, is shallow endeavors the right word? Yeah, or maybe even judgmental endeavors. You know, for example, like, as I said, with dating apps now, not even good looks, being photogenic has become incredibly important if you want to date. And it's so interesting that, you know, a lot of people are not willing to give someone a chance because they don't think that they're, you know, good looking enough. And look, it's fine if you're objectively not attracted to someone in their pictures, but, you know, it's difficult to talk about, but you've got to give people a chance, in my opinion, because like a lot of people don't photograph well. A lot of people, their sort of sexiness comes from their energy, and also like their, you know, chemistry is a real thing. Like I have dated, there's like one guy that I think of, and you guys know I never ever spill my dating tea ever, and this isn't dating tea really, but there's this one guy that I dated. And it was like short-term dating. We didn't date for like any longer. I think we dated for like just over a month. And I remember he was so gorgeous. He was gorgeous. He had a good job. He was tall. He had sorry, I'm like thirsting over him. Oh my God, I'm like lusting for this man. We had a lot in common. We got on well. There was no chemistry. It's so difficult to explain. Like, there was no spark. And it's so interesting because I have then proceeded to go on dates with people who, I would say, like, physically that guy was totally my type. And I then would go on dates with guys who, physically were less my type, but I was going to go on a date with them anyway. And there's a total chemistry there. There's a total spark there. You can't predict that just based on looks. You can be attracted to someone and there be no chemistry and there be no spark. And I always find that so interesting. Like, that absolutely fascinates me. Like, what makes, like, chemistry, it really is, it's just natural. Like, so you can't really predict these things. Just circling back to the disposability culture, I've spoken about this before in my past podcast episode about Love Island and women being collateral damage in men's growth. But I think that dating apps have really facilitated a kind of disposability culture within young men, sex addiction within young men, and, things can really go tits up really, really quickly when you've met someone through a dating app, because there's really no accountability there. Like, you are meeting this person, there's a very high likelihood that you don't have any mutual friends, which means that they really can just like dispose of you, unfollow you and everything, be done with it and never be confronted, never be held accountable at all. A lot of women, myself included, have experienced having just feeling like you've had the rug pulled from underneath you and someone ending something very suddenly and being like, whoa. And I think because of this, and also, there's being ghosted as well, which actually I feel like is ghosting. I've only ever been ghosted once, like a truly ghosted once. I think that like ghosting is like pretty unacceptable within dating now, I would say. To be fair, maybe I need to talk to my friends about this, but I have not been ghosted in a really, really long time. But I think because of this environment that has sort of been fostered and sort of facilitated by dating apps, I think a lot of women, and to be fair, I would like to say it's come from a women's perspective, and I'm just talking, with my female friends as well. I'm not saying that men don't feel like this either. I'm sure they do. But this is just like from my experience and also the experience of the other women that I've spoken to. So I do want this to be an open conversation. I don't want it to seem like I'm coming across saying, oh, men have it so easy, because that's actually not the case, I don't think. Oh my God, rare moment where I say that men don't have it easy. But no, I'm being serious. Like, I don't want this to be a conversation where sort of I'm implying that men have it easy in dating, because I actually really don't think that they do. I'm just obviously talking from a woman's perspective. But as you guys know, my favorite thing about voice notes is when people come out as straight men in my comment section, because obviously you guys are in the minority. So if you are a straight man and you want to give your perspective, please feel free to write a comment and I'd love to read it. But yeah, no, obviously let's keep the vibes friendly, guys. Let's keep the vibes friendly. But, I think a lot of women, because of this, date in a perpetual state of anxiety. Anxiety, they're going to be ghosted, be very suddenly sort of quote unquote dumped, experience a switch up after sleeping with someone, and in turn seek dating advice on TikTok, or rather the dating advice seeks them. I don't know how much my phone is listening to me. I have no idea. My biggest weakness, like intellectual weakness, is anything to do with data. Like anything to do with, yeah, they're harvesting your data. I don't know. Like, do you know what I mean? I know that's so stupid, but it's literally like, I don't know what that means. So I don't know how much my phone listens to me, but I will say that, if I'm texting my bestie about a date that I've just been on, and then I'm scrolling on TikTok and all of a sudden I'm seeing dating advice, manifesting dating. Also, my least favorite thing on TikTok is make a video with the sound for good luck. As someone who has OCD, that stuff is my actual living nightmare. Where was I going with this? And I see dating vlogs, I see dating advice, I see adverts for Hinge after I've been texting my bestie about a date that I've been on. my phone is listening to me. Like the phone is listening. So the advice does sometimes seek you. And there is also, I've discussed this before, so I'm not going to harp on too much about this, but there is a toxicity of, not just the TikTok algorithm, but for you curated algorithms in general. It serves you content which is either the same or similar to what you are watching / engaging with, which leads people to fall down a little bit of a rabbit hole. So I think it will be interesting to answer, why do people seek dating advice on TikTok over dating advice from, sorry, I just realized you can see the corner of my drawer, but I can't close this because Boots is inside and I can't lock my baby away. I'm so sorry. So please ignore that. Who likes my nails, by the way? Can you guys see? Look at those. Look at those bad boys. And I cut them as well. How crazy. Anyways. I think it'll be really interesting to try and answer the question and have a little discussion of, why do we think people seek dating advice on TikTok over seeking dating advice from their friends and family? I read a really interesting article on The Atlantic. It was titled, I believe, The New Single Stigma. And it is basically about how seems to be this new stigma with being single, that there's a lot less of a stigma attached to being a single person, but there is a stigma attached to being a single person and wanting to be in a relationship. And I especially think that this applies if you are a woman. I think that if you are a woman who is like open with the fact that you want to get into a relationship again, I think that for some reason the people around you see you and you want to be in a relationship again, but you're sort of not still, and you're still dating. I think people can sometimes have a tendency to sort of see women like that as desperate. And like, I think society hates desperate women. Like, it's so interesting that, like, within patriarchy, what is valued as submission, yet desperate women is where it draws the line. But I will say, society doesn't hate desperate women as much as it hates annoying women. I think I could honestly make an entire podcast episode about the plight of the annoying woman, as someone who was repeatedly called annoying growing up, and I'm probably still called annoying now, but I don't really read the comments of my main channel, so I wouldn't know. I think the fact that there is less of a stigma attached to being single is, again, it's obviously positive. And I think that there is so much positive conversation around the real perks of being single. I could honestly make an entire podcast episode about, sort of a guide on how to be single, to be honest. As someone who, I've been single for over a year, this is the first time that I have been single since I was about 17. I've always been in like literally back-to-back relationships. And honestly, I cannot even begin to express or articulate how much more this lifestyle suits my personality and suits me as a person. Like, when I hear that someone that I know, like a friend of mine, like wants to break up with their partner and be single in their 20s for the first time, like be truly single for like longer than 3 months, it's like I'm literally like, you are in for the greatest journey of your life. I honestly could talk about it all day. It's one of those things where I think I get a little insecure talking about how I really like being single, because a part of me gets a bit insecure that people are going to think that I'm lying. Like, people are going to think that it's like, the lady doth protest too much. Like, I am concerned sometimes that is what I would come across as, when I talk about how much I really enjoy being single. But, as someone who, I've discussed my sort of quite unconventional attitudes and approaches to romantic relationships, where I'm not sure if I want kids. I don't ever want to live with my partner. When I do get into a relationship again, I want to see that person maybe maximum twice a week. Like, I really value my independence now, and it's like so crazy. It's such a switch up from, when I was in a relationship, I literally couldn't sleep in a bed alone. Like, I found it really, really difficult to even sleep alone. And now I'm at a point, you know what it is? I think the reason why, it's one of those things where I didn't realize that kind of life didn't make me happy. And there's no criticism on people who do like that life. And it's not to say I was miserable. I actually wasn't. I just was not as happy as I am now because I didn't realize that this kind of life would make me really happy, which is why I do think it's really important for everyone to experience, either being single or being truly independent at least once in their adult lives. That's probably why I could talk about it all day, because it sounds stupid, but I'm just so proud of myself. Like, it sounds really, really stupid. And I really hope that I don't sound like really up myself there. So sorry if I do. But I think that I'm just really, really proud of myself that I don't really talk about things like this that often, but I have experienced rejection within dating, and I'm at the point now where I'm really, really glad that happened, because like now I know that this is what I like and this is what makes me happy. I can imagine that this sort of new culture, I think it can make it a little difficult, asking your friends for dating advice when they all respond with, the fact that you need to work on yourself, or like you can't really express sadness about being single without your friends being like, oh, you need to work on yourself, you need to like learn to be alone, all of this. There's something I haven't been experiencing, but I see it a lot on TikTok of like young women who have never been in relationships. And when they sort of express sadness over it, they say that their friends just go, oh, you need to work on yourself. You need to be happy in your own company. And it's like, no, I think people are allowed to sort of like mourn and grieve the fact that they want to experience romantic love. I think I can imagine it's especially hard hitting when you're someone who's never been in a romantic relationship before. Because, again, I'm really lucky that I, experienced 2 long-term romantic relationships before the age of 25. And I'm really, really lucky that I got to experience that kind of like romantic love. There's the dating advice of working on yourself, and then there's the age old, it always comes when you least expect it. Which I can imagine if you are someone who wants to get into a relationship but it's not working out, and then people keep saying that to you, I can imagine that drives you crazy. I think one of like the gag is that it is low-key true. Like, there's a reason why people say it, and it is because it's true. But I also think it can be difficult asking for dating advice from people who are in relationships. You sort of think like, oh, well, how would they know? How would they understand? Like, they can't truly empathize, but also it's like that thing in Sex and the City when like Carrie's asking for Samantha for advice, and she's like, it's the blind leading the blind. Like, also when it comes to asking your friends for dating advice or just talking about your, expressing your dating woes to your friends, I think there's also an element of not wanting to repeatedly complain or ask for advice on the same things. I think TikTok dating coaches, they have this air of authority about them, and you can watch as many of their videos as you wish without your friends getting sick of you. But this is where the problem comes in, as you can imagine, because it's like, yeah, you can watch as many of their videos as you want, and then you're going to be served so many more videos, and then can you see you just fall into this like very all-encompassing, slightly inescapable wormhole of dating content. I can see how people become trapped in algorithmic cycles centered around their biggest anxieties. Guys, oh my God, I've been really spilling dating tea. I haven't been spilling dating tea at all, but I've been talking about my dating experiences a lot. And, I used to suffer really badly with like severe dating anxiety. And it was the kind of dating anxiety where I wouldn't get anxious about, going on a bad date or like, oh, meeting up with a weirdo. No, I would get anxious if I actually liked the person. And I think, any sort of anxiety when you're dating someone, I think is pretty normal. But, the level of anxiety that I would get, like I'm talking it would like bring me to tears. Like I would literally be like breaking down in tears because I was so convinced that this person that I was dating was going to like very abruptly end things, or they were going to reject me, and it gave me such bad anxiety. And I think the most gutting thing about experiencing this anxiety it falls into 2 camps. Number one, and this is, you guys know me, I am very pro short-term dating. I actually think you can learn so much about yourself. I think it's so fun. Underrated part is you get to live in a new, not live, but you get to sort of cosplay living in a new area of your city for a couple of months. Like I absolutely loved it. So not only did this dating anxiety stop me from actually just like living in the moment and enjoying it and taking, the day, like taking it literally day date by date. But also it distracted me from the fact that I was so anxious about the possibility of them thinking that I wasn't good enough for them, that I wasn't thinking about whether they were good enough for me. And I don't mean that in like a derogatory way. I don't mean that in like a, oh, they're not good enough kind of thing. I mean that in like a, that I wasn't even considering whether they were the right person for me, whether they were compatible with me, etc. I was just thinking about their perception of me. And unfortunately, this dating anxiety only got worse because then at the same time as dating, I would be watching dating vlogs as well. I was absolutely obsessed with them. Even when one occasionally comes up now, I do watch half of it and then I go, no, I can't fall down the wormhole again. But again, obviously we're going to get into that in a second. But I do think that there are positives of TikTok dating advice. I think that it gives a voice to those who have may not had a voice previously, you know, if that makes sense, as in these sort of For You algorithms have democratized virality, they've democratized fame. So we're hearing sort of voices of people who, you know, I hate saying regular people because that does sound so stupid, but you know, you're hearing a lot more voices of people you're more likely to relate to. You know, you can connect with people that you otherwise wouldn't have. And you can find people that you genuinely relate to, even people who are going through the exact same thing as you. I can imagine that, and I would love to know what you guys think, because I didn't really consume any breakup content when I was going through my breakup, apart from reading the book Notes on Heartbreak by Annie Lord, which, by the way, if you are going through a breakup, Notes on Heartbreak by Annie Lord is the best book for it. Like, I read that book and I remember thinking, I don't really relate to this because the way that her and her boyfriend broke up was very different from the way that me and my ex broke up. But there are so many just gems of information. Yeah, just gems in there that I will like take with me for the rest of my life. Anyone that I know that is going through a breakup, I always recommend Notes on Heartbreak by Annie Lord. But anyways, you know, I think people sharing their dating stories online also gives an avenue for morbidly curious people in relationships to get their messy dating drama, which doesn't involve hounding their single friends for dating stories. Now, I am not this kind of person because, as you guys know me with what I do and my job, is I love telling a story. I love entering the function, having a messy story of any kind, doesn't have to be related to dating, having a messy story, sitting everyone down and telling it all. But I do know a few single people who hate when their friends who are in relationships ask them for dating stories, ask to see their Hinge profiles, things like that. I think that I don't think patronizing is the right word, but I can imagine it's a little jarring. So I do think that this content, it does provide an avenue for people who really want their messy dating stories without having to ask their single friends and potentially upset their single friends. That sort of content, it's more like the relatable single girls who are going through a tough time dating. Then there is the professional TikTok dating coaches. You know, these are full-time dating influencers who are monetizing the dating advice they give out. There is an ulterior motive. And of course, I'm not anti-monetizing your content. As you guys know here, I feel like I'm pretty open with this stuff, and please let me know if that's like crass or anything. But I am open with the fact that like my number one priority this year with Voicenotes is trying to sort of get it properly monetized as much as possible, because the more I monetize it, the more I can reinvest into the episodes. You know, I'm not against monetizing your online presence. I think that authenticity and monetization can coexist to an extent, but it is worth factoring this in, because not only are these dating coaches repackaging existing advice, but they are doing so in much more attention-grabbing language to invoke people to engage with their content. You know, some like TikTok dating advice zingers, you know, I've heard are things like red nail theory. TikTok love saying that something is a theory. I'm so sorry. Do you remember hair theory? And people were just showing the fact they look different with their hair in different styles. That's not a theory. Okay, I'm sorry. I'm ranting. Let's not rant, Jordan. Let's not rant. But, you know, things like red nail theory, that men find red nails more attractive. You know, never text people twice in a row. You know, wear aphrodisiac perfumes. There's like particular areas that you can frequent to find high value men, like gyms or golf clubs. And I want to make it very clear, actually, that I am not anti giving out dating advice, obviously. I would say that If I have any piece of dating advice to give, it's to not make yourself too available to someone. And I mean that from sort of the perspective of, again, I know it's like very typical work on yourself, but like try to make your life so layered, so textured that it is difficult to squeeze another person in. Number one, if you like someone, if you're making the effort to try and squeeze them in. Number two, it leaves them waiting. Lure them in. But also, when you have this, a very textured and layered and busy life, it sort of stops you from getting too wrapped up in the idea of what someone could be for you. If you feel really fulfilled in your friendships, then you aren't going to build this person up in your head too much because there's not another place for them to fill in your life. You have to make space for them. But anyways, that's my only bit of dating advice. But I do think the root of my issue with especially the hippy dippy TikTok dating advice, or not even the hippy dippy red nail theory, more the TikTok dating advice that's never text twice in a row, never do this. If he leaves you on red for 12 hours, he hates you, all of that. I think it implies that the reason why the person watching is single is at the fault of their technique, their dating technique, when so much of getting into a relationship is down to luck. I feel like we're beginning to finally have these conversations, which I think is really, really good. I see this spoken about quite often now, how much of getting into a relationship is really, truly down to luck. Even if you met on a dating app, yeah, sure, there is an element of it's a numbers game, get as many dates in as possible, etc. But also, there's the luck element of that person being presented to you on your Hinge algorithm, or you being presented to them on their Hinge algorithm. There is the element of luck that, you decided to match them and you decided to message them, or they messaged you, etc. Or again, if you meet in person, you had to be in the right place at the right time. This is why getting into a relationship is so down to luck. Falling in love is so down to luck that so many people, myself included, I totally believe that when two people fall in love, it can't be an accident. I know that it sounds so silly, but I really, really do believe that in fate. And a couple of my friends, one of my friends met his partner at Glastonbury, and I remember saying to him, I was like, what are the chances that you two in a festival of 300,000 people happen to be at the same place at the same time? It's things like that it really does make you believe in fate, that there's some higher power at play. So much of it is down to luck. And also when it comes to this dating advice of for the, don't text this, don't do that, this, that, the other, blah, 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 blah. For the right person, this, kind of sort of frivolous dating advice really, really doesn't matter. To quote Kaylin Johnson for Bustle magazine, in turning to TikTok, it was comforting to know that I wasn't alone in wanting a serious relationship. It was helpful to think that these creators, legitimate certifications or not, had been where I was and seemingly knew how to end my single season in a few simple steps, even if that meant reading required TikTok literature like Why Men Marry Bitches. I'm a lover girl at heart, so certain things in the book, like seeming chill and uninterested no matter what, it's giving cool girl monologue, made me feel defeated. Some videos made me feel like I wouldn't be able to date successfully again unless I changed some core parts of me, like being someone who wears my heart on my sleeve. On the other hand, some of the advice was genuinely useful and eye-opening, like learning to prioritize what I truly want from a partner. And Kaylin also writes about creators and, dating life coaches and dating coaches and life coaches who share tips and advice on how they manifested their boyfriends. The video instructed me and anyone else watching to make an extremely specific list of what my dream partner was like. It also said that I needed to outline what type of woman I had become in order to attract that person and tap into my feminine energy. Here we bloody go. As someone who was ready to kiss her single season goodbye, something about following a specific set of tips seemed to be a more promising dating approach than sitting around waiting for my meet cute. With nothing to lose, I grabbed a piece of paper and started outlining the person I wanted. I folded it up, tucked it far away in my drawer, and completely forgot about it. Weeks later, I met the guy who would become my first boyfriend. It seemed like the TikTok manifestation gods had done their work. Then we broke up 2 months later. Although initially crushed, I let my heart guide my next steps, and it led me straight back to TikTok. It worked for me once. Who's to say it couldn't work again? And I think the TikTok boyfriend manifestation guide almost hits the nail on the head with my biggest problem with TikTok dating advice. It is so black and white, and it doesn't factor in the complexities and gray areas of life, especially your romantic life. You know, when we think of other sort of very common dating tips and sentiment which is shared on TikTok, you know, if it's not a fuck yes, it's a fuck no. Someone not expressing enough interest in you over message. Oh my God, I could say so much about that. You know, grabbing coffee or drinks is an unacceptable first date. You know, I think what makes this advice particularly heinous is these creators are monetizing on their audience's greatest anxieties, which is being single and alone. Like, is that not just so depressing? And I think it's a net positive that women everywhere are raising their standards. But when does this dating advice stray away from having high standards for yourself, wanting to date someone who makes an effort, enjoys spending time with you as a person, doesn't mess you around, to just surveilling and reading into someone's every action as a sign that they don't like you or that they aren't a quote unquote serious contender? And I think, to be fair, you know, as I've said, my sort of take is that I think that so much of meeting someone is really down to luck. And I think that I can imagine that this kind of dating content and like dating advice specifically is very comforting to a lot of people, because I can imagine it's comforting to think of your dating life as being in your control and being able to do things about it. And look, as I've said, there are things that you can do. Like, you know, it probably is a numbers game. Like, the more dates you go on, the more likely you are to meet someone. But also, again, so much of it is down to luck, babes. And this is the thing, this content first existed to ease people's dating anxieties and help them find community with other single women. And now I just believe that this content is far more anxiety inducing. It simply induces more anxiety in people. You know, if all the content you're being served is related to dating and you are also dating, it becomes so all consuming that it just makes this anxiety so much worse, and it makes dating feel deeply unpleasant. It makes it feel like a chore. I think something that, you know, I've shared this before, but I took a dating break for like 3 or 4 months. And the reason why was because I remembered that I was supposed to enjoy this. Like, I remember being like, this is supposed to be fun. And there's been like times where I've been dating where I've had so much fun, and it's like I'd lost that. So I knew that I had to do like a factory reset, basically. And I think that it sort of programs you to think that when something doesn't work out, you just end up turning the blame on yourself. And as I've said, you know, this is an echo chamber of terror. It's an echo chamber of terror, and it sucks all of the fun out of it. The most fun that I've had during dating is just going with it. And I understand it's a lot easier said than done, because especially as someone who I don't like to like blame the way that I am on like the fact that I have ADHD or the fact that I have OCD, but also I do understand that I'm someone who I have, you know, my brain is programmed, you know, my mental illness makes me a very obsessive person. So, you know, it is difficult for me to not like build someone up in my head or to not think of what it could turn into. But I have found that when just taking it date by date, enjoying in the moment has been the most fun that I've ever had. If we circle back to the women who are genuinely asking for dating advice on TikTok, posting dating vlogs, updating their profiles with anonymized but still pretty juicy details of their dating lives, you know, I think I'm really interested about this, is how this has become such a common phenomenon. I've shared my opinions on dating vlogs before, and you know, my sort of opinion is that I think that they can borderline on quite cruel, even though I think the intention is good. You know, I think going into a bathroom and saying whether you're attracted to someone or not, whether the date is going well, is just cruel. And the reason why, and I think what is quite difficult about it is it's clearly not ill-intentioned, but the reason why this content has been like created, the environment that has fostered this, is the fact that the digital age, and not even the digital age, social media has totally desensitized people to sharing information online, if that makes sense, and being mean. Like, I think that, you know, I hate to use the word normalize because it's like really, you know, video essay core. But I do think that posting, you know, very private information online is a lot more normalized now than it used to be. And I think that a lot of people don't realize that it can be cruel to, you know, go into a bathroom and and update throughout your day. And even though it's in like these, you know, your audience don't know who you're talking about, if that person stumbled upon that video, they would know that you're talking about them. And I don't think that it's very nice. And I think something else which is really interesting, and I probably will sort of finish the episode here, is I actually think the evolution of telling your friends your dating stories to telling your TikTok followers is, perhaps this is a reflection on how much lonelier we are and sort of the lack of community we have amongst our friends. You know, we see our friends less and less, you know, and I think a lot of us suffer from like technology-induced self-isolation where like we're entertaining ourselves to death, that we don't really need to see our friends that much for entertainment, if that makes sense. Because I think so much of socialization is driven through boredom. I even think if you're texting your friends, myself, I've literally just said about how bad I am on messages. I think that, you know, even when you send your friends messages, people are bad at replying. So I understand why people were more inclined to, you know, post it on their TikTok, because people are going to engage with it and talk to them, and find, you know, that can be very comforting, especially like sharing, you know, I like telling dating stories the most to my friends who are single because they get it. But yeah, that's just been some thoughts that I've had at the moment. Sorry if this is a bit of a hodgepodge episode. It's more from like a personal POV, personal point of view. Sorry, oh my God, sorry. I need to go, but yeah, no, I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. And remember, oh my God, I've literally completely forgot to promote it. Sorry, my cat just crawled out of the drawer. Are you okay? Oh, my baby. I will be uploading my bonus episode all about Sydney Sweeney, Sabrina Carpenter, choice feminism, bit Andrew Dawkin in there, over on my Substack if you want to listen to the bonus episode this week. But yes, hope you guys enjoyed this episode. Love you so much. And I'll see you for another one next week. Bye.